Hello everyone. Today's topic is how to define your own new handler. Last session we've talked about how to customize operator new and operator delete, and we've briefly talked about what new handler is. And today let's start with the review. A new handler is a function that's invoked when an operator new failed to allocate memory. Its main purpose is to help the memory allocation to succeed. The function setNewHandler installs a new handler and returns current new handler. This is an example of operator new implementation that we talked about last session, to demo what the operator new typically does. Inside the function there's an infinite loop, and the first thing it tries to do is allocate the memory of the size. If the allocation succeeds, it will return the memory and it's done. Otherwise, it will fetch the new handler and check if the new handler is valid or is a null pointer. If it's not a null pointer, it will just invoke the new handler. Hopefully it can do something nice to free up the memory, and then go back to the loop and try to allocate the memory again. New handler can, if the new handler is now a bad alloc exception is thrown. New handler can do a lot of things, but one thing it must do is to exit the infinite loop, and there are three exits from the infinite loop. One is return the memory, and second thing is throw the bad alloc exception. Lastly, the new handler itself can either throw exception or terminate the program immediately. So these are the 5 options that our new handler must do. It must do at least one of the things. First, make memory available so that next round of memory allocation could be succeed. Second, install a different new handler. If the current new handler cannot do anything to free up the memory, then maybe a different new handler could. Third, uninstall the new handler. Set the new handler to null, which means I cannot do anything about the memory anymore, so it will just throw a bad alloc exception. Number 4, instead of let the operator new to throw the exception, the new handler can throw exception itself of the bad alloc or any exception that's derived from bad alloc. Last option is to terminate the program. So let's look at some examples. In this example, in the main function, I try to create a gigantic array of integers, and of course my host machine cannot handle that, so it will print out throw exceptions. So what's happening here is because I haven't installed any new handler, and by default the new handler is null. So when the operator new tests whether the new handler is null, it is null, so it's just throw exceptions. So output will be terminate called after throwing an instance of bad alloc. Now, second example, I define a function called normalMem, and in the main function I install the normalMem function to be the new handler, and then again as before I create a gigantic integer array, and this time because I already set a new handler, and what the new handler does is print out some message and then terminate the program, the last option. so the output will be unable to allocate memory both. What I have done here is I set the global new handler to be no more mem, which means any memory allocation fail will call this new handler. One question you might want to ask is, can I set a class specific new handler? A new handler can invoked only when the memory allocation for a particular class failed. The answer is yes, we can implement that in C++ by overloading the operator new. So this example, my dog class have a function no mem for dog, and I've overloaded the operator new over here. And the main purpose of the operator new overloading is to do three things. Number one, I set the new handler to be no mem for dog. And secondly, I call the operator new as before, as usual. This will allocate the memory for dog. And lastly, I restore the new handler to whatever it was before, because the no mem for dog new handler is only for dog. So anybody else after that should use whatever was the new handler before. So this is how the new handler, class specific new handler, can be implemented. There's a small problem with this program. Can you see what it is? The problem is when the operator new fail to allocate the memory, it will invoke the new handler, which is the no mem for dog, and then no mem for dog will throw exceptions. So that means the original new handler will not be restored. So we need to copy this line to over here, and in the no mem for dog function, before I throw exception, I want to restore the original handler. That will complete the implementation. That's all. Thank you. If you have any question, any comments, please leave comments below.